Have you ever felt that even though you live in this world, you are not really like the people in it? People laugh, talk, and blend into crowds, but you stand among them and still feel alone deep inside. Maybe since childhood you have been told, you think too much. You take everything too personally. Why can't you be like everyone else? And slowly, you tried to change yourself. You tried to become more like other people. You tried to be more social. You tried to feel less. But somewhere deep inside, a voice kept whispering, something is different. And maybe that difference is not a weakness. Maybe the problem is not you. Maybe the problem is a world that does not understand people who think deeply. Carl Jung once said, "Those who look into their inner world often find themselves alone in the outer world." And today, we will explore 8 signs that reveal your personality is extremely rare, a kind of rarity that not everyone can understand. Carl Jung was one of the greatest psychologists in history. He did not try to understand human beings only through behavior. He tried to understand the soul, emotions, dreams, and the unconscious mind. Jung believed that some people are not born merely to live. They are born to understand themselves, to understand the world, and to see truths that most people ignore. These people often feel different. They find small talk superficial. Fake people disappoint them. Loneliness does not scare them. Instead, it brings them peace. And if you have always felt different from others, there is a chance that your personality is also extremely rare. So let us take a journey into the depths of your inner world. Sign 1. You enjoy being alone. Have you ever noticed that the more time you spend around people, the emptier you begin to feel inside? Crowds do not excite you. They exhaust you. Fake laughter. Meaningless conversations. The constant pressure to act like someone else. All of it slowly drains your soul. And eventually, a moment comes when you want to shut everything off. Phone on silent. Notifications turned off. Distance from the world. Just you and your silence. The world calls this loneliness. But the truth is, it is not loneliness. It is survival. For rare personalities, solitude is not a weakness. It is oxygen. Because some people do not live in the outer world. They live in their inner world. Carl Jung once said, "The person who can be alone is not running away from themselves. They are discovering themselves." And perhaps you are one of those people. You can sit alone for hours without getting bored, because your mind is never empty. It is filled with memories, questions, dreams, and emotions that you never show to the world. But society rarely understands this. People say, "Why are you always alone? Why do you act so distant? Why don't you socialize more?" Because they do not understand that not everyone is born for the crowd. Some people are born for silence, some are born to think, and some are so deep that a shallow world can never truly understand them. The truth is, you are not tired of people. You are tired of fake connections. You are tired of conversations where nobody is truly listening. You are tired of relationships where people only remember you when they need something. That is why you have learned to be alone. And do you know the most brutal truth? The more you begin to understand yourself, the less the world seems to understand you. But do not be afraid. Rare people have always walked alone. Lions do not move in herds, and deep souls do not get lost in crowds. Sign 2. You think deeply. Have you ever felt like your mind never stops? The world goes to sleep, but your mind keeps running. Even at 2 o'clock in the morning, you may still be thinking about an old conversation, someone's words, the tone of their voice, the hidden meaning behind a message. While most people hear words, you hear emotions. While others see faces, you recognize pain. And that is what makes you different. Rare personalities cannot live on the surface. Their minds naturally dive into depth. A small event can create a storm inside them, because you do not just think about what happened. You think about why it happened. Why did that person feel that way? What truth is hiding beneath the surface? Sometimes you become frustrated with yourself. You wonder, why do I overthink everything? But listen carefully. This is not simply overthinking. It is awareness. It is an ability that not everyone possesses. Deep thinkers do not see the world as it appears. They see it as it truly is. And that is why shallow people often fail to understand you, because they only want answers. But you want truth. You search for meaning in everything. Why do people change? Why? Do relationships break apart? Why do people become fake? These questions follow you constantly, but these same questions are what separate you from the crowd. Carl Jung believed that the person who dives into the depths of their own mind begins to see the world through entirely different eyes. Perhaps that is why your mind is rarely quiet, because your soul was never designed to accept a shallow life. The truth is, deep people often suffer more, because they understand more. They recognize lies quickly. They see people's real intentions. They cannot ignore the fake realities of the world. This is both their blessing and their curse. But remember this: every person who changes the world first learns to understand it deeply, and perhaps you are one of those people. Sign 3. People often misunderstand. Have you ever noticed that? No matter how genuine you try to be, people still misunderstand you? You speak honestly, but people call it attitude. You choose silence, but people see arrogance. You keep your distance, but people assume you do not care. And slowly, you stop explaining yourself. Because after a while, people get tired of constantly proving who they really are. For rare personalities, this is one of the most painful experiences. Outside, they may appear calm, but inside, they are incredibly deep. Unfortunately, the world does not understand depth. The world notices loud people. It admires fake confidence. It rewards those who wear masks. But you cannot fake a smile. You cannot feel comfortable where emotions are artificial. You cannot force conversations just to fit in, and you cannot change yourself simply to be accepted. And that makes some people uncomfortable, because your authenticity exposes their false reality, because your honesty exposes the fake world they have created around themselves. Carl Jung once said, "The more a person understands themselves, the more they begin to stand apart from the crowd." And the crowd is often afraid of those who are different. The truth is, you are not cold. You are selective. You have learned that not everyone deserves access to your heart. Because not everyone can understand your sensitivity. Some people will take advantage of your kindness. Some will mistake your silence for weakness, and some will judge you simply because you are not like them. But listen carefully. Being misunderstood is not always a weakness. Sometimes it is a sign that you think on a level that others have not yet reached. A lion is often called arrogant because it does not walk with everyone. Deep people are the same. They do not belong everywhere. They do not connect with everyone. Because their soul was never designed for cheap connections. So the next time the world misunderstands you, do not try to change yourself. Rare people do not spend their lives explaining who they are. They simply live their truth. Sign 4. Your intuition is extremely strong. Have you ever met someone and instantly felt uncomfortable around them? There was no clear reason, no evidence, no proof. Yet something inside you whispered, "Be careful around this person." And later, that same person turned out to be toxic. They turned out to be dishonest. They disturbed your peace. That is not a coincidence. That is intuition. Rare personalities do not only see with their eyes, they feel energy. While most people hear words, you sense vibrations, a fake smile, hidden jealousy, a wounded soul. You notice these things. Sometimes you walk into a room and immediately feel that something is wrong. There is tension. Something feels dishonest. People are hiding the truth. And the strange thing is that others usually realize it much later. What you sensed from the beginning. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious mind can recognize truths long before the conscious mind understands them. That may be why your heart often warns you before your mind does. But the problem is that the world rarely takes intuition seriously. People say, "You think too much. You are too suspicious. You are too sensitive." But deep people know something important. Energy never lies. You may have noticed that when someone appears kind on the outside but is fake on the inside, your spirit becomes uncomfortable around them. because your soul notices signals that others ignore, and that is what makes you different. Rare people often trust their feelings before they trust logic, because sometimes the heart can see what the eyes cannot, but listen carefully. Strong intuition is both a gift and a burden, because once you begin to see people for who they truly are, it becomes difficult to remain innocent. You stop trusting easily. You stop attaching yourself too quickly, because your inner self senses danger long before it appears. So never ignore your intuition, because one of the greatest strengths of rare people is their ability to sense what others cannot. Many times, your soul recognizes danger long before the world does. Tazuri, sign 5. Small things mentally exhaust. Have you ever noticed that spending only 10 minutes with certain people can leave you completely drained? You did no physical work. You solved no major problem, yet your mind feels heavy, your heart feels tired. And your soul longs for silence. Why? Because your mind was never designed for a shallow world. Sign 6. You can instantly recognize fake people. Some people only hear words, but you read people's energy. No matter how perfect someone's smile may look, if their intentions are fake, something inside you immediately feels uncomfortable. Because rare personalities don't just see with their eyes, they see with their intuition. They don't only notice what someone is saying, they sense what someone is hiding. Perhaps you've noticed this before? Some people seem incredibly nice at first, sweet, caring, and friendly. Yet deep inside, a voice whispers, "Something isn't right." And over time, that same person reveals their true face. Carl Jung called this the persona, a mask people wear to show the world. Most people live for acceptance. They hide their true identity, wear fake confidence, and display artificial kindness. But rare people can see beyond that mask, and that's why fake people often feel uncomfortable around you. Your presence alone weakens their performance. They know it isn't easy to fool you. That's why you probably have very few friends, because you choose quality over quantity. You would rather have one real person than 100 fake ones, because your soul isn't satisfied by shallow relationships. You crave loyalty, truth, and genuine connection. And the brutal truth is that real people are extremely rare in today's world. That's why you often find yourself alone. Not because no one wants you around, but because you've stopped compromising. You've stopped staying around fake people just to fit in. Now, you protect your peace. And do you know the most painful part? Deep people often see others' true nature very quickly. That's why they become disappointed more often. They don't lose people. They discover who people really are. But listen carefully. This isn't your weakness. It's your strength. Because someone who can recognize deception can protect themselves from it. And that's exactly what rare people do. They don't trust everyone. They don't give everyone access to their heart. Because they've learned that not every smiling face has a pure heart. So if you've distanced yourself from fake people, don't feel guilty. Destroying your inner peace just to save a relationship is the greatest betrayal of yourself. Sign 7. Your imagination is extremely powerful. Have you ever noticed that your mind is never completely here? No matter where you are, your imagination is creating another world. A world where emotions are deeper, where conversations are more meaningful, where your soul can finally breathe freely. Rare personalities don't just live in reality, they also live in imagination, and that's what separates them from ordinary people. Perhaps you can spend hours daydreaming, creating entire scenes inside your mind, having imaginary conversations, visualizing your future. And strangely, those imagined worlds often bring you a sense of peace that the real world cannot. When you listen to music, you don't just hear sounds. You feel memories, you feel emotions, you experience entire atmospheres. A single song can take you back to an old wound. A single lyric can touch your soul. Because your mind doesn't process things on a surface level. It absorbs everything deeply. Sometimes your imagination becomes so powerful that reality starts to feel boring. People begin to seem mechanical, conversations feel empty, and slowly you find yourself escaping into your inner world. The world may call this distraction, but Carl Jung saw it differently. He believed imagination is the language of the unconscious mind. According to him, imagination isn't merely fantasy. It's a mirror of your soul. It's what creates artists, writers, poets, and visionaries. Because every great creation is born in someone's imagination before it becomes reality. Rare people don't simply accept the world as it is. They imagine what it could become, and that's what makes them powerful. Because anyone who can imagine can also create. But here's the brutal truth. People with powerful imaginations are often misunderstood. They're called dreamers. They're told they're lost. They're told to live in reality. Yet history proves something different. The people who changed the world were the ones who saw possibility before everyone else saw reality. So if your mind constantly creates different worlds, don't suppress it. Because that imagination may be your greatest gift, and perhaps you weren't born merely to dream. Perhaps you were born to turn those dreams into reality. Sign 8. You constantly search for a deeper meaning in life. Perhaps this is the greatest sign of all. You don't just want to live, you want to understand. What is life? Why are we here? Why do people fall in love? Why does heartbreak hurt so deeply? These questions don't simply make you think. They pull you inward, as if your soul is searching for a deeper truth. Most people are simply surviving. They wake up, work, earn money, repeat the cycle. But your mind isn't satisfied with that because your soul wasn't built merely for routine. It craves meaning. While others chase success, you chase purpose. You don't just want money. You want a reason to wake up every morning. You don't just want relationships. You want soul connections. Connections where words are few, but understanding is deep. Where there are no masks, no pretending, just two souls genuinely feeling and understanding each other. And that's what makes you rare. Because most people spend their entire lives without ever truly meeting themselves. They live according to the crowd. They become what the world expects them to become. But you ask questions. You don't blindly accept things. You have the courage to look within. And honestly, that path isn't easy, because the deeper you go, the more uncomfortable truths you discover. You realize many relationships were built only on convenience. Many smiles were fake. Many people were running from themselves. And these realizations make you feel different from everyone else. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." And perhaps you are awakening. That's why shallow living suffocates you, because your soul wasn't created merely to exist. It was created to understand, to feel, and to search for truths that most people are afraid to face. So if you've always felt different from everyone else, maybe it isn't a curse. Maybe that's your rarity, because rare people aren't born to become part of the crowd.
They are born to see the world differently. If you saw yourself in these signs, remember this. You are not strange. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are simply different, and not every different person is wrong. Sometimes the most beautiful souls are the ones the world understands last.
So don't change yourself just to make others comfortable. Don't hide your depth. Don't mistake your sensitivity for weakness, because those very qualities are what make you rare. And in the end, some people aren't born to get lost in the crowd. They are born to see the world through a different lens. If this message resonated with you, then perhaps you truly are rare. Write in the comments, "I am different." And share this with people who constantly feel misunderstood, because some truths can only be understood by those who are willing to go deep.